So, does she do that often? Virginia asks. Hieronymous just lets out a snort of dry humor as he nods. She once told me that while you guys were having a fight, she jumped out a window because it was the only way she could get you to listen to her. Tori does have a unique approach to communication, Hieronymous admits. There's an awkward silence for a few moments, neither of them knowing quite what to say or how long it would be until Tori came back. So, how does Tori like the other world? Virginia asks. Honestly, I'm a little surprised that you got her over here. I thought she'd never enter the other world. All during Jason's independent study, she kept saying she would never come here because you would never come here. But this is your house, and Tori seems to love it here. This is Tori's house, too, now, Hieronymous reminds her. What has she told you about the other world? Not much, Virginia says. Then again, she doesn't really talk much anymore. Sometimes it feels like I'm talking to Tori, and other times I feel like I'm talking to a totally different person. Did you ever notice that? Depends, Hieronymous replies simply, and Virginia pouts. Okay, I know we may not get along, but we both want the best for Tori, Virginia volunteers, and Hieronymous had to acknowledge at least that much. So this is what I know. When she was a freshman, she was super talkative all the time. Then, around the beginning of February, it felt like she was just trying too hard to pretend that everything was okay, but she wouldn't talk to me about it, although it was obvious something was bothering her. We were married January 25th, Hieronymous recalls, and Virginia nods. Yeah, and the rest of us didn't find that out until a few months later, she recalls. But for the record, Tori has always had a crush on you. She used to moan your name in her sleep. Ellen said that plenty of students probably had nightmares about you, but those weren't nightmare sounds, if you catch my drift. Hieronymous flushes but says nothing. But then, yeah, she continues, after the May Day ball, Tori was ecstatic. She wrote letters to me all summer, and she had this little running progress meter at the bottom of it that she would fill whenever you complimented her on something. Even Ellen wrote to me like, we need to do something about Tori. She's just happy all the time and won't stop smiling. It was creeping her out, but I mean, she's my best friend. If she's happy, I'm happy, you know? And then her second year, all that stuff with Damien went down, and that's when she started getting more quiet and reclusive. Like, she just stayed in the room all the time. We didn't find out that Tommy was stalking her until Potsdam had to intervene after he attacked her, and we never even found out that she made her parents forget about her until the summer after. Hieronymous pauses for a moment. That is something that I've always been curious about, he ventures. Mr. Ramsey targeted Tori as a freshman, but it's not clear what happened between them that made him target her to such a degree later. That is an excellent question, Virginia agrees. You know what happened between William and Damien his freshman year, right? How he almost got him expelled? Hieronymous nods. Well, I told Tori about it after Damien picked her to be his freshman for the event. After he made her write the love letter that somehow ended up on your desk, he made a big scene outside our door about how he'd apologize and how awful he felt about it. I told William about it because, how much more obviously manipulative can you get? William told Tori to stay away from him, and she did. At least, I think she did. He'd come over and she'd be polite to him, but anytime he asked her to go anywhere, she turned him down. He bought her the apple pie at the Apple Festival, and then he invited her to go to the dark dance with him. Tori turned him down again, but when he wouldn't take no for an answer, that's when Tori got pissed and told him to back off. He said she'd regret it, but we figured it was just Damien being an asshole. We never thought anything would come of it, especially after he got expelled. Hieronymous considers this for a moment. But why target Tori? She was a wild seed with no obvious distinguishing characteristics. Why go after her? Beats me, she replies. Maybe he just thought any ignorant wild seed freshman would do, and Tori was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Or maybe he found out that Tori had the hots for you and was trying to do her a favor. Very funny, he replies sarcastically. Okay, so I dished on Tori from what I know, she continues. Now you have to dish on what you know. What exactly happened last spring? That is a very good question, Hieronymous replies. We weren't on the best of terms last spring. She was sneaking out at night with your former roommate, and after several fights about me encroaching on her independence, I decided to let her be. Obviously, that was a foolish mistake on my part. Yeah, Virginia agrees, as if that was the understatement of the year. So is that why you decided to send her off to a fancy British school? That's complicated, he replies immediately. Tori only has 1 year to finish up her education. But she's not learning anything there, Virginia protests immediately. She's not learning spells or anything important, and look at her, she's getting fat. She is not fat, Hieronymous says firmly. Tori may have gained some weight, but she is as beautiful as ever. Aw, that's sweet. I'll tell her you said that, Virginia teases as Hieronymous rolls his eyes. But can't you work something out with Professor Potsdam so Tori can come back to Iris? She is miserable in London. Hieronymous scowls. What has she been telling you? She's trying to make it seem like everything is all good and okay, but it's clearly not. She gets bullied a lot. She doesn't want to wear dresses all the time. She doesn't like how Miss Minchin literally abuses the help, and she doesn't want to learn how to be a lady. She just wants to be Tori. Hieronymous just shakes his head. She still is Tori. She always will be. She's Tori, but I don't know if she's ready to be Lady Grabiner, shade of Shetlock, just yet. Virginia continues. I'm just saying, be patient with her. Obviously, you can't renounce your title, but I mean, she is in this for the long haul. This is just so different from what she's used to. Hieronymous just sighs as he takes another sip of his tea. I'll take your advice into consideration. I just want to make sure Tori's happy, Virginia continues before she pauses thoughtfully. And you too. After we left, we were actually all talking about what a cute couple you two make. We were thinking about throwing you two a surprise party or something, but we figured you'd probably be against it. I'm not against it, Hieronymous says as he shakes his head. Tori needs people in her life that will look after her best interests, and, as much as it pains me to admit it, you and your friends are a large part of that. Tori is going to spend a lot more time in the other world upon graduation, but you are always welcome to visit. Virginia looks taken aback. But that makes no sense. Why does she need to spend more time in the other world? Aren't you both looking to have kids? Hieronymous swallows hard. Not for another few years yet. Ah, gotcha, Virginia says quietly, and the table falls into awkward silence. So, when is Tori going to come back? She'll be along shortly, he replies as he closes his eyes. Tori, please do not leave me alone with your friend for longer than necessary. He opens his eyes as Tori suddenly teleports directly behind them. Sorry I ran off like that, she says as she slips back into her seat. I hope you guys didn't just sit here silently waiting for me to return all this time. Nope, Virginia says as she beams at her. We were just becoming the best of friends. Tori just turns to him for confirmation, and Hieronymous can't help but roll his eyes as he echoes her statement. The best of friends.